I was talking to another friend about this book, and she said she didn't like the beginning because she felt like Jen was complaining. But I didn't get that. This book was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I'm going to try to be objective in this book review, but it just hit the spot. So I'm going to tell you about Jen Fulwiler's book, One Beautiful Dream. I picked up this book purely because I really like Jen Fulwiler. I follow her on Instagram. She just is this funny girl, and she's Catholic and quirky, and I relate to her. What can I say? And I didn't even realize she had a book. Turns out she has about 3. But I saw on one of her Instagram pages that she was talking about how her book won an award for best books for adult. She said differing from adult books, different category. But she got this award, and I realized she had a book. I didn't even know that. So I immediately logged into my library app to see if they had it at my library, and they did. So I grabbed it, I snagged it, read it in 2 days. Like by the end of the weekend, I was done with it. I could not put it down. I would have read it in one night if I didn't have responsibilities. The beginning of this book opens with Jen talking about being in the grocery store, and she's on the phone with her mother-in-law or her grandmother-in-law, some in-law, and she's having this humorous conversation, but meanwhile she's got her 2 tinies in the cart of the grocery store. And when she opened it up this way, you know, it brings all the moms in, because we've been there. We know, okay, we know where this is going. We know you're on the phone and you have a 2-year-old and 1-year-old in the cart. We know where this is going. I just read that chapter, and then I read it again, and I read it to my husband out loud, and now I know I'm pregnant, but I couldn't read it without crying, because even though it's such a silly story about the grocery store, it was so funny, but it just was so raw and real, because I remember being a new mom and having all those insecurities, those feelings that, am I a horrible mother? Am I just, wrecking it up? And do I have any right to be having all these children when clearly I'm incompetent? I remember that, and it was so intense. So reading that chapter, I just knew right from the get-go I was really going to like this book, because I got it. It was a very good book. And what it talks about is finding the balance between your vocation of motherhood, your wife, and that thing that gives you fire. She calls it the blue flame. The thing, that project you do, that, or not even necessarily a project, it could just be that thing that you love. You love to paint, you love to cook, you love, whatever it may be. Everybody has their blue fire that just kind of energizes them. So she talks about balancing it. Can you have both? Can you be a mom and nourish your kids and be 100% for them, but at the same time feed these passions and live? Can you do it? Can you? Without 4 nannies and a butler and a maid. You get my point. And she talks about her journey to figuring out that, yes, you can have it all, but it's gonna look different than you might have imagined it would. And I'm not going to give too many spoilers, because I want you to go read the book. But essentially, she just talks about how as moms, we're going to get interrupted a lot. We're going to have, maybe we're not going to make as much progress in 6 hours straight as we would have if we were single. But that doesn't mean that we can't make the progress. This makes me think about older adults that go to college. I've heard this so many times, that they go to college right after high school and it doesn't work out or something, but then they go back as older adults and they say that life is crazier. They have a mortgage, they have a family, they have all this stuff, but somehow they're able to almost focus better on college as older adults because they have that mission in their mind. They have their why, they have a purpose. And I think the blue flame can be very similar for a lot of us. If we have something that deeply resonates with us, deeply fills our cups, and we dive into it with passion and keeping in mind that the family is part of this. They're part of mom's journey too. It affects them. They're integrated into this blue flame. But if we keep that in mind, you very much can do that and have a family. Not saying there aren't seasons that we have to hit the brakes and say, oh no, there are no blue flames right now. There are seasons of life where it gets so crazy and hard, and we are just blessed to get through a day. So I'm not saying that you can just do it all the time. That is the whole point of this book, is that you can have it, but we got to get rid of this idea of balance as being this perfect place of stillness. I use this all the time. I tell my friends this all the time. They're probably so sick of hearing it. But balance. Think about standing on one foot. Are you ever really perfectly still? No. It's the constant adjustments that you make to keep that balance. You're going to be shifting your weight constantly. And that's why this book spoke to me so much, because this is something that I just live and breathe and just believe deeply. And she put it into beautifully written words. She's funny, and I laughed, and I just felt like she was in my head the whole book. And also we have similar stories. We both lived in Austin, Texas, and so she talks about her love of the city, and I get it. She also used to be an atheist. Now, I never proclaimed myself an atheist, but essentially that's kind of what I was. And so she talks about getting in her head a lot as she went through her conversion journey, and just the struggles back and forth there. I get it. Like, I understood it completely. I was talking to another friend about this book, and she said she didn't like the beginning because she felt like Jen was complaining in these stories about the way people perceived her, or the ladies she saw at Barnes & Noble, just different things. But I didn't get that. I didn't feel that way at all. It didn't feel like complaining. It felt like, I guess because I understood her tone from Instagram, because I've followed her so long, and she's just kind of sarcastic and ridiculous. So every time I read a sentence, I just heard it in a sarcastic and ridiculous tone. So I didn't come across as complaining. It came across as very, like, outrageous. But I don't know, maybe she was complaining. I could be wrong. But I read it like, she is so funny. She's so funny. Yeah, so if you're that mom that just needs that cool Catholic friend that really, there's not an ounce of judgment in her book. I love the way she presents Catholicism in such a great light with not a speck of judgment. And I only hope that I can one day speak to it the way she does. It's so joyful. It's so, it presents it in such an attractive light, and without diminishing anybody else's beliefs or opinions. So guys, go check out that book, buy the book. I have to have one on my shelves now because I just adored it. I really did. And the story of her personal journey is fantastic. She has a very moving, powerful story. So I recommend you read it, Catholic or not. This isn't a book about, why you should be Catholic. This is a book about integrating family living and the chaos of that with the things that really drive us and keep, you know, our eyes twinkling. Let me know if you want me to read other books, if there's any books you want me to read and I can review. I am a bookworm. I'd be more than happy to oblige. And tell me if you've read this book. So well, take care and God bless you. We will see you next time.